You're listening to the Red Pill Chronicles, where we help awakening souls deal with the blue pill world. I'm your host, John Dennison, and together we'll explore how to take an inner approach to your outer affairs so you can build a better life and a better world to live it in. Hi there, John here. Today I want to talk about living in the gap between the life you've got and the one you want. This is really where I started about 15, 18 years ago when I first sat down to start writing. Though I was coming at it from a strictly spiritual perspective, based upon my own spiritual training and development, most of which was pretty well self-taught because I had turned my life over to that inner mastery, and I said, Master, teach me. And that's what happened. That's where I started That's where I started for earnest. I'd been on the path for decades before that, but that's really where I got my bones. That's where it all began for earnest. And it was shortly after that I was led to write Whispers in the Silence. Whispers in the Silence was about it's about the discontent that eats us alive if we don't listen to our inner voice and follow it to address what it's trying to get us to do. The premise behind Whispers in the Silence was that we're all on the spiritual path of our own awakening and return to the wholeness from which we came by connecting to the inner source and allowing it to guide us to the experiences we need that will bring us there. And the discontent in life with the circumstances that our lives bring is as a result of the separation of the outer ego from the soul, higher self, God, or however else you want to see what's inside, this inner, basically the source of life, or inner mastery, as I call it. And so I was talking about the process of cultivating our energy fields in order to accommodate listening to the inner voice, and how that was actually the lesson behind most spiritual teachings, which was moderating the ego and clearing out those energy fields through how we live and how we think and how we act, in order to bring us closer to that state when we can follow that inner voice and return to the oneness from which we came. Anyway, I was been thinking about this issue of discontent again because it has arisen in my life. It is ever present in most of us to one extent or another. That there is the state of being of what our lives are, and then there is this desire, whatever the desire is that works upon us, or whether it's fear of what could be, that makes us discontent or discontent with the lives we're living, and makes us want to achieve more, to be more, to have more, to do more. And it is this motivation to act in our world that I want you to recognize. It is there in all of us, but this idea, it's usually a very nebulous idea of what it is that we think is going to make us content with our lives. There's a desire, which could change from moment to moment, that makes us unhappy with our state of being. Maybe we've got too many bills, and we need more money coming in. Or that we don't like the path we're on, or don't like the job we're in, or the relationship, or whatever else it is. And that there are okay things about it, but there's always something within us that may want more. And I don't know what the area of your life is that this gap manifests itself as, but I just want to draw your attention to it. Because it's in this gap that we lose our peace, yet also find the impetus to drive us onward to what our lives need to be, at least from an experiential standpoint. And I'm talking about the experience of our souls in knowing ourselves and experiencing ourselves and evolving ourselves back to that state where the soul and the ego grow toward oneness together, wholeness, let's say, between them, so that work together in this world and in the other world, where your inner and outer worlds are integrated as flip sides of the same coin. And yet it is this gap that is almost like torture. It just kind of eats away at us until we recognize that it's there and do something. And certainly it creates the impetus for change, but it makes us so unhappy in the process of being where we are. And the problem with it is that when we get to where we think we need to go, something else crops up to make us unhappy with our lives. Some other discontent. It's like we're addicted to the chase of those desires, to what we want to be, as opposed to what is and what we are. And I've been wrestling with this for myself, is how to find peace with the way things are and the way I am, when the results of my life are not bringing me what I think I'm looking for. Yet I know that everything in my life has been teaching me about how to find peace and to understand myself better as I evolve on this path, hopefully toward oneness. But I could tell you that lately it seems it's more towards separation. And that's what I see in the world, is this separation is growing as our polarities are being excited and being pulled farther apart. And what it's doing is creating this state of discontent within us and within our society that is causing us to fight with ourselves, to fight within ourselves, to fight with our lives, to think that the life and world we have is not enough. And to be honest, I'm still trying to figure out how to feel that I'm enough, that the work I do is enough, that the life I have is enough, that the people I help are enough, and that what I think I know or learn along the way is enough to help me do what I need to do and achieve what I'm trying to achieve. Yet, I don't know that. I hope I know that. But there's always this thing within me. It's striving to do or be more. Some of you may remember I've talked before about 2013 when I went into the hospital. Gallbladder attack set off pancreatitis, which turned into sepsis, and I was there for 5 months and nearly died. And it's been a long recovery since. I think since I got out, I've had 5 surgeries, and there was one preceding that, the year prior to that as well. And it's just been a long road, and every one of them just saps a little more of the energy and will out of me to fight with my reality. Yet there is still a part of me that just can't accept the fact of the limitations imposed by my own life and the circumstances and the message that I bring. And it's tough to live that way when peace is at the core of everything you're about, because it sets up a state where you're not at peace. And And that makes me feel like a fraud. That I talk about peace, yet I'm still striving for it within me. No matter how close I get, how much I understand, or how much I become, or how much more accepting and allowing I am for my life and my reality. I know there's always more. And even when I get closer and closer and deeper into the peace, it doesn't stop this desire to achieve, to take forward this message of peace to you and others like you. And so it's very hard for me to give you any definitive answer in terms of what to do in the gap, because I'm still trying to find my way myself. And I do the things that I'm led, you understand, I'm led by my inner voice. My inner voice and my soul guides me in terms of what I do with my life. I turned my life over to this inner master back in 2001 or 2002. And it's led me on this big roller coaster ride, and part of which I've explained to you. Great highs and great lows. And great challenges, some of which I have met and some of which have knocked me on my butt. But the inner voice has continued to lead me into greater and greater challenges in order to find my peace. It's like, it's not just a switch I can throw. It's that it's always deeper. It's always just beyond grasp for the moment, and that I have to work to find it instead of naturally being in it. And there are times that I'm just totally and completely immersed in it. But when I am, and then I come back to reality, like Eminem's song, whoops, there goes gravity, back to reality. Well, that's sort of what it's like when you come out of the peace, and then you're back to what's going on in your world. And if you've ever been a meditator, and you get deep in meditation, and then you're drawn back into reality, it's a harsh awakening. And I guess we're all in the process of this harsh awakening that is being used to stimulate this sense of longing inside us to be whole, to be at peace. But no matter what you achieve, no matter what I've achieved, no matter what I try, no matter what I do, there's always more. There's always more to do, more to become, more to try to achieve. And when I don't achieve it, it sets off the judgments of the unmet expectations, sense of failure, purpose, all of which more deeply steal my peace and make it harder for me to return to the state of oneness within me, at least, until my focus again comes back on my outer reality. And I tell you all this because I teach from my life. Most everything I tell you is stuff that I've gone through, and how I've dealt with it, and how Spirit has taught me to use it toward knowing myself and my own conscious evolution. And I share it with you as breadcrumbs on the path, and hopefully that it makes your job a little easier. And I tell you, it's so much easier for me to see things that are going on in other people than it is in myself. Not so much the knowing part, but the what to do part. Because when in dealing with yourself, unless your inner voice comes out and says, do this, it's more a matter of, okay, it's going to point you in a direction, and then you can take whatever trial and error you want along the way. And maybe you find it, maybe you take a few detours. And maybe you don't, and you're brought back again later, over and over and over again. Again, as the repetition of those karmic energies just keep returning in echoes that keep reminding us of the gap between the life we want and the one we've got. Think about it. Think about your life. What's wrong with your life? Or not so much what's wrong with your life, but what do you feel about your life that is making you uncomfortable or discontent or wanting more? What are the circumstances that are doing that? Now, those circumstances you can take on face value, and most people do, and they wonder, well, why is God doing this to me? But I take a different approach as being on the spiritual path as I look at where is the value in what this situation is bringing me, and how can it lead me a little closer to where I'm trying to go. This gap, though, it's like when you become aware of it, it's hard to not just immerse yourself in trying to do something about it and forcing your life to change in order to fill that gap. Even knowing that when you do, it's going to be stretched out farther to something else that you're going to want or don't have, or something else is going to be wrong with what you do create. I mean, that's the reality of life, is that it comes with challenges. And so we have to meet the challenges, and we got these carrots dangled before us, and we attach to them what we want. And then we set off trying to get it and do the things that we think we need to do in order to accomplish it. Well, I guess one of those carrots that are involved with most of those who are on a call to serve in service of others is the sense of purpose or desire to do something in particular, to create something, to help others, however it manifests, just to take care of a child. Whatever it is that you're awakening to do in order to give to others in love, and the light is allowing you to see where to apply your love. That's something that you and only you can see. But that's calling you onward and from where you are. And so it's adding to this gap of the status quo. So the sense of service is an interesting concept, because when you take off to serve others, it typically involves some element of not serving yourself. So you could be successful in serving others and not be served at all. You can be unsuccessful at serving others and be totally successful at serving yourself. You could be unsuccessful at both in a total frustration or purpose. Or you could find yourself as one of the lucky ones who gets everything that you want as a result of giving to others without having to try. And of course, it's this state of not doing or not trying or not looking for expectation in return, which is supposedly the path that the masters want us to tread. And it is the highest aspect of service, which is giving without expectation to get back in return. But nevertheless, the realities of life mean that you have to survive here. And it sets up this dynamic tension between giving to serve or giving to God or giving to others. And doing so in a way that also serves you and serves the life you want, to help fill the gap of what you need, what you're looking for yourself. So the gap is really an important part of both your service and knowing of yourself, but also your own evolution toward oneness. Because how can we expect to experience oneness if we're living in separation from the lives that bring us what we want? So, I started this with some idea that there was something I was going to share, and I'm rambling down this path here. But for now, I just want you to look at the gap. I want you to be aware of the gap. And that this gap is calling you to know yourself. It's calling you to find a way to integrate your inner and outer worlds, your inner and outer selves, so that you can become whole. And through your wholeness, work toward oneness. It is a hard process to let go. As those that I've heard several times in the Unity Church, let go and let God. Well, try to live your life that way. See what happens. Where you don't have any expectation or what it's going to bring you, or any judgments about what it does. And that if you struggle, you struggle. And so you just go and do what you feel like you're called to do. And do it. Whatever it brings. And to be totally satisfied with it without wanting more, to do more, to be more, to get more, to be more at ease. Interesting concept. Extremely hard to apply. Extremely hard to apply. Most times I only hear it in terms of a situation which is intractable, where you can't find a solution. You don't know what to do, so you just quit struggling with the situation and you surrender to it. I mean, that's really the concept of it, but we're talking about surrendering to your life. To letting go of everything you want about your life. This is the process that the ancient wisdom talks about in ripping the flower of desire out of the heart. And it is, and I talked about that in Whispers in the Silence. It is an important part of the process. It is essential to the unification. But so long as we have a gap, perhaps it might help to understand why we have a gap and what we can do about it. And it's bringing you experiences that you're getting while you're here, both in terms of trying to accept it or fight against it or work to change it. But it's also bringing you an awareness that whatever you do isn't going to fill it. That gap's still going to be there. And somehow, you have to find a way to live with it, to accept it, to recognize it, to know that you have the desire to change it, that even though you are working to change it, that you somehow detach both from the process and the outcome. And I know this is not easy to ask of you. I know that your life brings you back to what is missing from it or what you think it needs to be there in order to bring you ease, comfort, financial security, happiness, relationship, good health, or whatever it is that you think is missing. So even as I draw your attention to the gap, I ask you to also draw your attention to God or to your soul. And to draw down those soulful energies to guide you in how to meet the challenge of that gap in a better way. That will bring you more peace even as you are working to fulfill your purpose as you understand it in this life. Perhaps we will speak on this more later. But in the meantime, I wish you peace and Godspeed in your efforts ahead. God bless you indeed. I'm John. You have been listening to the Red Pill Chronicles, where we help awakening souls move in a better way through a blue pill world. For more information, visit us at peaceoptions.com to explore how you can find your peace through knowing yourself and following your inner voice. Or at missionlaunch.com, where we offer coaching and consulting to help you make the difference in your world.